This is TWiT.
Well, all right, I'm going to stay in the Apple's nefarious evil plans segment. This is a little thing, but it's an interesting thing. It's from a website, uxdesign.cc, the UX Collective UX User Interface on Medium. Alan's writing, one trick Apple uses to make you think green bubbles are gross. This is actually kind of interesting. This is the Apple chat. They choose a green that is low contrast. In fact, it violates the web community access guidelines. And Alan gives us an example. This would be a good contrast green. Instead, they choose a lower contrast green, which makes those green bubbles somewhat less legible than the blue bubbles. Do you think they did that on purpose?
Can I give the history lesson here, which is they didn't select that color for Android. They selected it for SMS because that app wasn't called Messages. When the iPhone started, it was called SMS, and there wasn't iMessage then, so they picked green because, I don't know, because that was what they thought a text message should be. And then when they added iMessage, they added a different color, which was blue. And so I think this is really great from a dark pattern perspective about how Apple chose a bolder design for their own thing than for the default thing. But just to make it clear, this is really about the green, unless they change the green at some point, which I guess is possible, maybe iOS 7. But, you know, the green choice was made in the original iPhone for text messages because that's where this came from.
Yeah. And if you have a bright screen, it's even worse, by the way. Yeah. So it would be nice if Apple would change it to a better color. Green's fine, just a higher contrast green. Do you think they will?
I have to say that I do think this is suspicious. Like this famously, this is the company where Steve Jobs emailed the CEO of Google complaining about the shade of of yellow in their own company logo. I do believe that the Apple's own products undergo a certain UI beauty pass review that they said, screw it. Alas, we have limited resources for making sure that we make the improvements apply to all of the UI elements inside the thing, particularly the things that help us to sell more iPhones than Android.
And I'll grant you, Jason, it wasn't a slam in Android because it wasn't about Android at the time, but it might have been a way of saying we're better than SMS.
But it wasn't, because when they introduced it, it was just SMS, and it was just green, and they added iMessage later and turned it blue. I'm going to turn this into a tip opportunity for everybody. You go to Settings, Accessibility, Display and Text Size, and turn on Increase Contrast. And guess what happens? That green bubble becomes a lot darker.
Yeah. So Apple gives you a switch. That's okay then. They give you a switch.
And the switch works, unlike some of their switches, I hear.
Ooh. Ow. Ooh. All right, I'm going to go turn that up because I think, I do have some friends.
Makes the blue one darker too, but it does make the green darker. And I, as a colorblind person, I have a lot of those things. I have a lot of those things on because increasing contrast and just decreasing transparency makes it easier to differentiate. There's also a great setting in there, by the way, called Differentiate Without Color, which some apps follow and other apps ignore. But that can be useful because there was a time when you had very vital parts of your interface that would be a circle, and I would say to myself, what color is that circle? It's trying to tell me. Like, the charging thing that they put on a lot of hardware where it's like it's green or it's amber. I can't tell the difference. So anyway, Differentiate Without Color is there too. Accessibility settings are good.
So bold text, larger text, button shapes. Here's reduced transparency. You think that's a good one too? And I mean,
it really changes the look, but you might like the look.
Yeah.
And they have these on the Mac too. If you want to make your Mac feel like it's from the 90s, you can turn a lot of this stuff on, and everything gets like not transparent and with heavy borders around it and all. And I know some people who love that.
There's also some this one. Maybe you could explain. You mentioned Differentiate Without Color. What does it like? Add little. It says replaces user interface items that rely solely on color.
Right. So think about the one that I always got me was back in the day was like an instant messaging app that has a red if they're do not disturb and a yellow if they're away and a green if they're okay. And when I turn that feature on my Mac, it goes and it keeps the colors, but it makes them a triangle, a circle, and a square. Because all good design, all good UX design, you should not have to rely only on color as a signal. There should be another signal. Like how when you move over a Mac window, those little traffic light signs in the corner also get symbols in them. So they're all circles, but they all get symbols in them, so that if you can't differentiate based on color, you can just differentiate based on one, their placement, left, right, center, and also the symbol that appears inside.
There's also on-off labels, which I guess might help as well.
Yeah, it puts a little on or off on the switch, so you can tell whether it's on or off without seeing the green or the red.
See, I see it. Yeah. So and
the green or the gray.
There are a lot of guys who are colorblind and don't know it.
I didn't know until college. I took a test in college, and they said arrange these 5 green circles in order, and I was like, they're all green. That's it. That's all I know.
Order a what? What are you talking about there?
But anyway, so I don't know. The one fact that I don't know and that I would love to know about the iMessage bubble versus the SMS/Android bubble is, did they change it at some point? And to Andy's point, yes, I am sure, just like iMessage in general as a lock-in feature, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it turns out this thing is a lock-in feature. What a shame. Let's not do anything to make it better, right? Like, let's not make any effort to make it better.
We're right on that. We're going to put this work order on the bottom of a disused filing cabinet.
Radar.
On the bottom of exactly.
Beware of the leopard. Yeah, exactly. I know what you're going for there. And we'll file a radar. We'll prioritize it appropriately, and we'll see you back here in 2053.
I got to believe, though, that Apple tests accessibility of their colors, and this color fails the WCAG tests that are out there. It's, and I would expect that they're doing that with all this stuff. Maybe not, but I would expect them to do this test. So
do you think that they go so deep as to test to make sure that SMS green bubbles have the same? Do they go that deep, or did they just simply say, here's the basic UI for iMessage? We regard it's somewhere institutionally, not specifically, but institutionally, they think, oh, well, SMS is an exception. It doesn't merit its own test suite or
maybe not
test schedule.
I should point out, by the way, according to this UX design blog, the blue that they chose also fails with the normal text size. So maybe they need to rethink their color choices. Or we should all turn on that contrast filter.
Turn on the contrast feature, And actually, the great shame, as much as I like accessibility features, they do provide an out, right? Like, they can say, oh, well, we made this thing inaccessible, but if you want it to be accessible,
we can always turn it on for those of you.
And that's an excuse, but maybe you should make the default design better.
Yeah. We make the SMS bubbles very light gray on a white background, just to save wear and tear on the pixels, you see, because it's such a popular standard.
It's OLED. Yeah.
Our customers love the color of our SMS bubbles.
Only Apple could make a bubble this gray. Only Apple.
I'm Jason Howell. How do you thank your hardworking team? Well, with a Club TWiT corporate subscription, of course. You can show your appreciation and reward your tech team with a subscription to Club TWiT, and that way they'll be informed and entertained with podcasts covering the latest in technology. With a Club TWiT subscription, they're going to get access to all of our podcasts ad-free, members-only Discord, exclusive outtakes, behind-the-scenes and special content, and exclusive shows like Hands on Mac, Hands on Windows, and the Untitled Linux Show. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit and look for corporate plans for complete details.